Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan Martin and this is Fox 26 Crime Files. So we begin today with an alarming new report and a warning from the FBI about sextortion. Fox 26's Matthew Seedorf is speaking with agents about exactly what's happening.
This is a huge priority for the FBI, especially the FBI in Houston.
A creepy, concerning crime climbing online. Adults posing as children, getting kids to send them sexual images, then extorting them for more nude pictures or money.
We are seeing a huge uptick in sextortion complaints, especially of boys that are being sextorted for money. We see a lot of Instagram, Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, Kik.
Last year, the FBI received over 18,000 sextortion-related complaints, with losses totaling more than $13.5 million.
It's becoming easier and easier to exploit children online because the internet is such an accessible place for kids.
I'd have to send him all these pictures, and as I'm doing this, he would be like, "No, this isn't right. This one's blurry. You weren't doing it right. You got to do it again."
In 2009, Ashley Reynolds was 14 when she became a victim of sextortion. Now she speaks to warn others.
He was set on sharing my picture with whoever he could to ruin my reputation. I gave him the pictures and I got to keep my reputation.
Can something like this impact a child for the rest of their life?
Yes, it could. It would likely become the anxiety-related disorder of post-traumatic stress.
Recent victims in Houston, boys between 13 and 17 years old.
It's important for parents to have an open line of communication with their kids.
The FBI is asking more possible victims to come forward. For more information, visit our website, fox26houston.com. Reporting in Houston, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 26 News.
Well, you just hate to hear about these kinds of stories. A former Alvin ISD teacher accused of having sex with one of her own students. Investigators say Joanne Carroll taught at Shadow Creek High School when she started talking to one of her students on Instagram. Apparently, they later had sex at least 3 times. Carroll resigned from her teaching position. All right, now this story. A California man accused of preying on young people in our area. Fox 26's Randy Wallace has that story.
On December 1st of 2021.
When the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant, they say they found numerous devices with sexual recordings belonging to 24-year-old Demetrius Carl Davis.
David is suspected of generating numerous fictitious social media accounts portraying himself as a prepubescent female child named Lizzie. Davis would direct them to produce child pornography depicting themselves engaging in sexual acts with their siblings and other children known to them.
Investigators have identified more than 80 victims between 6 and 13 years old across the United States, some in Texas and Houston. According to the FBI, at any one given time, there's probably 500,000 predators online, each talking to 10 to 100 children.
They shouldn't be talking to anyone who's asking for a photo. They shouldn't be talking to anyone that's asking for video footage. They shouldn't be talking to people that are exposing them to sexually explicit material.
The best way to protect your child online, experts say, have an honest conversation and see their reaction.
Mom, Dad, I understand what you're saying. I think that's a situation where I would report, or that's a person I wouldn't engage with. They're starting to show you that they're mature enough for the gadget. If they're saying, no, don't talk to me about that, that's never going to happen, that's disgusting, they're showing you they're probably not mature enough for the technology. And I think that's sort of a missing piece with families. We don't know how to approach the conversation.
$5,000 now on the line for anyone with information about a recent gun store burglary. Investigators say 4 people broke into the Lone Star Tactical Supply. It happened earlier this week, and they made off with more than 30 firearms, including rifles, pistols, and silencers. So if you know anything about this, call police. A chase ends in an officer-involved shooting this week, and the suspect ended up dying from his injuries. Here's Fox 26's Natalie He.
Just after 10:30 Monday morning, Cleveland police say a man armed with a gun showed up to the Martin Chevrolet dealership in a black sedan with paper plates. The suspect apparently demanded employees hand over keys to another car, then sped off toward 59 South.
Our Cleveland police officers arrive. Suspect flees southbound 59 at excessive speeds of over 100 miles an hour.
Authorities say the suspect led law enforcement on a high-speed, erratic chase to the Goodrich area, nearly 20 miles away, then back toward Cleveland, where officers spiked his tires.
They spiked the tires. I do believe vehicle loses its rims, goes into the construction barrier area, pursues back northbound again, jumping several construction blockade areas or culvert areas. As the vehicle flees, it wrecks out right here in the Cleveland city limits near the bypass.
Investigators say the suspect then ran out of the car, flashing a gun while sprinting toward a wooded area. That's when Cleveland police say 2 of their officers confronted the man and fired 2 gunshots at him, killing him. Cleveland police say one of the officers was a sergeant who's been with the department for 15 years, and the other was a patrol officer with 7 years of experience. Both officers will now be placed on administrative leave until further notice, while an internal review of the case is pending.
Well, we hear about a lot of these, unfortunately, lately. Another armed robbery here in Houston, this time at this pawn shop on Alameda. Police say 2 people walked in on Friday the 15th. One of them pulled out a gun and they both started just grabbing cash, and then you see they just took off. Call police if you know who these guys are. Well, the FBI has now joined the search for a missing woman. This story getting a lot of attention online. Apparently, she was in town searching for a job, and all she left behind was a bloody cell phone. Here's Randy Wallace.
24-year-old Felicia Johnson was last seen on Friday, April 15th, leaving CoverGirl's adult nightclub on West Little York. She traveled here from San Diego in hopes of getting a job as a dancer. Her cell phone, covered in blood, was found 4 miles from the strip club. Her father, Kevin Johnson, says it took 5 days before HPD began investigating her disappearance.
Since that time, I've stepped back and allowed them to do their job. However, I have yet to be provided with any information as it relates to her last known whereabouts, which I believe to be the CoverGirl nightclub. Nor have I at this time been provided with any pertinent information as it relates to the surveillance footage at the CoverGirl nightclub that could easily confirm or deny Felicia's identity.
Crime Stoppers is offering a $5,000 reward for information.
There's many questions, obviously, that are out there, and we need the answers because right now, grief is intensified without justice. And sadly, right now, justice is lacking for Felicia and her family.
Felicia's father claims HPD, the DA's office, and club owners are not being forthcoming about Felicia's disappearance. He believes she's become a victim of human trafficking. He also criticized Black Lives Matter of Houston.
Where are you at? I've been here 2 weeks. Like, you have zero presence. Like, reach out to me. That's all I got to say.
All right, well, several bricks of suspected cocaine washed up on Galveston beaches, and they were all found in separate areas. Each was wrapped up in plastic containing more than 1 kilogram of presumed cocaine waiting to be tested. So the packages had barnacles on them, so they were likely in the ocean floor for some time, washed up by the choppy waters. A major reprieve for the family of a Texas woman who was set to die this week. Here's Fox 26's Tiffany Justice with that update.
Melissa.
Yes.
Hey, this is Jeff Leach.
Yes, sir.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good. Have you heard the news?
No, what?
You haven't heard the news yet?
No, what happened?
The Court of Criminal Appeals issued a stay of your execution for Wednesday.
Are you serious? Are you serious? When did this happen?
Melissa Lucio and her family lost for words as they learned she will not be executed come Wednesday.
It's an amazing feeling throughout everything that we've been through, not only personally but as a family. It's words can't explain the feeling. I mean, this is our sister. This is my oldest sister. You know, she was my second mom.
A Texas Court of Appeals ordering Monday a new hearing. The case will be sent back to the lower court to see if a trial will be granted after 15 years on death row.
The stay of execution that was issued today by the Court of Criminal Appeals is so important. We now have the opportunity to go back to the trial court to have a hearing on the new evidence.
Evidence that her attorneys with the Innocence Project believes will lead to her acquittal.
The claims that we've raised, including the new evidence of Melissa's innocence, including the fact that since the time of her trial, science has advanced. And in addition to that, that the state used false testimony to obtain her conviction and withheld exculpatory, helpful information to her defense at trial.
Prosecutors have maintained Lucio's daughter, 2-year-old Mariah Alvarez, was a victim of abuse. Lucio's lawyers say Mariah died from injuries from a fall down a steep staircase. Several elected officials showing support for Lucio and her family, corresponding with Governor Greg Abbott in hopes of her receiving clemency. The Innocence Project saying since the hearing was granted, Governor Abbott will most likely let the courts run its course.
Can we get a word from the mom?
Well, we're all excited and we want to thank everybody for supporting her and believing in her. I'm so happy.
Well, 171 people have been killed allegedly at the hands of repeat violent offenders free on multiple bonds. So how did we get here and how do we stop the bloodshed? Here's our Randy Wallace.
Prior to 2019, most criminal district court judges would revoke a defendant's bond if they picked up a new felony charge. But now we have judges granting multiple felony bonds to the same defendants over and over again.
In the 34 years that I've been doing this, I have never seen a period of time that this many people were committing this many crimes while out on bond. It's an odd time for us. And that's why I think people are scared, and that's why people are angry.
So how did we get here? It's more than just criminal district court judges freeing violent offenders from jail by granting them multiple felony bonds.
You had hurricane, then you had the pandemic. You've got about 100,000 plus cases that are waiting to be disposed on.
Our jail in Harris County is completely overcrowded, and it has been for a great number of years.
Some say judges should hold court at night and even on the weekends to clear the backlog. But overworked judges, cops, and prosecutors could mean more overturned cases.
I think that a mediation process in criminal cases that can start bringing the nonviolent cases down rapidly will unclog the system very quickly.
To date, 171 Harris County residents have died needlessly, and that's just what we've been able to document.
Many of these cases, it shouldn't have happened because the defendant should have been locked up. And we're seeing more and more elected officials agreeing.
If you want things to change, use the power and vote. Randy Wallace, Fox 26 News.
And that is this week's Fox 26 Crime Files.